let's talk about Remco Evenepoel weight gain. People say, there's a fluctuation of weight, and that is normal, all right? There's nothing news here, nothing new. I do recommend people's weight fluctuate over the year. You're going to have times where you're on certain training loads, certain compounds, certain things, certain fitness levels, and you're going to have a bit less, a bit less. What you see here, this is a picture of me on the right. This is a bit of a cringe pic, but you can sort of see how lean I get. I get leaner than that, I'm probably about 68 kilos on the right there, and I can get down to 59 kilos. So I find it really, really easy to get lean and stay lean. Just keep your fat intake really, really low. All right, under 10 grams a day of fat, you're good to go. Let's talk about this crash here. This is in I think it was in Tour of Roubaix, Paris-Roubaix race. They're coming in the velodrome here, but seriously, look at this. This is disc brakes, man. Yeah, this is disc brakes. Like, look, let's do it. We're gonna do a slow mo on this one. This one here. Look at this, man. This guy here on a Cervelo looks like an S5 Cervelo. If you've ever ridden an S5 Cervelo, they're a very nice looking bike. They're very artistic, but man, they're freaking they handle pretty average. I reckon they're like they're a big tank, a lot of carbon fiber in there. It's just it's an S5, and it's just they're heavy, man. So when you go for the apex, all that G-force, the extra weight, it just sort of you're buckling out. So if he was on an R5 rim brake Cervelo, it would have been alright. R3 rim brake, alright. But because the S5 is so heavy, it's just hard to control in the bunch. Look at that. And he crashes into the the guy's wearing the Mexican rider there, and he's just coming down. And look at that, bang, bang. And this is how you get some hip fractures and stuff like that. So you can crash any time. This is why I think that riders should be allowed to take anabolics, because hip fractures heal a lot quicker with some exogenous hormones, testosterone, anabolic, etc. They heal a lot faster, all right? So, we got to talk about rider safety. One, they don't need disc brakes. Two, they should be allowed to take whatever they want to take without having the stress and the fear of, this UCI stupid rules about drugs, etc. Because, again, health of the athlete should be a priority. You should be able to use whatever it takes to aid in recovery with crashes, etc. What are we doing? We're treating these athletes who are entertainers. We're treating them like they don't have any choices. Like it's crazy. So then, of course, people go behind the scenes and get medical help behind the scenes so they can do their jobs, so they can have better health for themselves, their family, etc. But again, this isn't popular opinion, but this is this is how it should be. The athletes, all swimmers, runners, everyone's taking gear anyway. Like, why not just legalize everything? But again, that's too much logical. We don't live in a logical world. Look what's happened in the last 2 years. Now, if you don't take drugs, they kick you out publicly. Novak didn't want to take any drugs. They kicked me out of Australia. Imagine that. Novak's the first big-name professional athlete kicked out by a country for not taking experimental drugs. It's crazy. Let's talk more about Remco Evenepoel. Can he win the Tour de France? I think he can. He's very young still, and I'm not sure he handles hated and media and stuff. But from a physiological perspective, if you could put my brain, my mindset into Remco Evenepoel, he would be like the next Indurain. This kid time trials really, really well, and he climbs really, really well. Like, his kid is the next Indurain for Belgium. He's definitely got that potential. He's not even that lean. Look at him. He doesn't, you look at that picture and you think he's just a kid from a party place in Belgium or something. He doesn't look. Now, there's not been no disrespect. The dude's a machine. He's a monster. I'm just saying he doesn't look at his peak yet. Like, he's still got a lot of weight to lose. I look at him and I think, man, I could trim so much weight off him. He's like, same with Pogacar. These guys are mutants, man. They're putting out mutant numbers, and they're not even their leanest yet. It just goes to show there. And here's a tip. When you take something out of a rider's pocket, do it on the low down, man. Like, there's so much. Like, if that was me, if I was pulling that out of the pocket, I would have just kept it in my hand. Kept it in your hand and kept it in your hand, then put your hands in your pocket, shrug your shoulders, and why would you, there's always cameras on you people out there, all right? So when you just do stuff with more stealth, man. I can't believe someone would pick it out of the pocket and put, it's just do things with better stealth. Keep things in your hand, keep things in the hand. Don't put them, make them visible for the camera, because then people just make all these assumptions. So yeah, this year the UCI is pushing vaccines on people. they're saying if you in France, if you don't take the experimental drug, we won't let you race in France. I think that's just you know what I'm thinking about that. You know what I think about that. You know what I think about that. But Evenepoel, I think he could win the Tour de France for sure. What do you think? What do you think? There's no reason why he can't. This guy's on rim brakes. What a legend. And now we see in the first few races of the year, everyone's on disc brakes, man. It's like 100. Look at that. Even Team Ineos, Team Sky, lucky to get his front wheel chopped out by Evenepoel then. Maybe this is the camera angle. But we see that all the riders on disc brakes now. So that's good. That's good in terms no one's got the advantage of a 6.8 kilo bike. This is the first time in 22 years the UCI rule, what is it, 0.13.19, thou bike shall be over 6.8 kilo. Like the UCI stopped weighing bikes now. Literally stopped weighing bikes. Look how big he looks. He looks staunch. He looks like a little gym rat. He could lose a lot more weight. He doesn't need to at the moment. That'll happen with time. But I'm just saying, as he matures, he's still very, very young. He's probably got a bit of puppy fat on him, but we could let him up, and his performance would go up as long as we do the durianrider protocol. All right, not the freaking Patrick Lefevre protocol. I mean, Patrick's a fantastic guy for cycling. He's done incredible. Quick Step team, probably one of the most dominating teams out there, especially in the classics, etc. So Patrick, good for cycling, but I imagine Patrick's dietary advice going to be quite poor. Well-meaning, but quite poor. So if you had someone like me working with these riders, I mean, I do work with a few World Tour riders, but I'm talking, top of the top assisted riders, then we're going to see some explosions going up there. But yeah, just keep the fat under 10 grams a day. That's pretty much it. Which nutritionists who don't even, I mean, these teams employ nutritionists who've never even raced or ridden. You know what I mean? They don't know what it feels like to freaking do 300 or 600 or 500 Ks in a day, or do a freaking FTP after 5 hours of racing. None of us done stage races. How many nutritionists done stage racing and stuff? Or how many nutritionists have put a 150 kilo person down to 75 kilos with no gastric bypass? Not many, man. And kept him that lean. So that's my credentials right there, the results I get for people. But yeah, look at these riders, and I think, man, I could definitely trim some weight off you. You're doing great, but you do even better. We just increase the watts per kilo the right way. But yeah, so all these disc brakes now, full Peloton disc brake, full Peloton disc brake. Crazy, man. UCI banning, cancelling their bike weigh-ins. They're like, yep. The UCI guy turns up in the UCI van, just walking through the team, corridor of all the buses, and he just looks at the bikes. They don't even pick him up. He's just like, yep, it's disc brake, yep, over 7.5 kilo. Oh, Cervelo S5, definitely over 8 kilo. That's all they're doing, man. They're just walking around, and if the bike has disc brakes, they don't even weigh it. Because what's the point? It's going to be over 7 kilo. It's going to be well over 6.8. It's going to be over 7.5 kilo. So the guy's like, why would I risk breaking my scales weighing a disc brake bike when I know it's over 6.8 just by looking at it? You know what I mean? It's like why would you wouldn't throw an elephant on the scales to know it's over a ton. You just know an elephant weighs over a ton. Like a full-grown elephant's over a ton. A disc brake bike in the World Tour is over 7 kilo. Now you got those flimsy, flexy consumer level frames. Yeah, they can make it under 8.8 kilo. But they're going to be... You ever ridden a Specialized Athos? They should call it the Specialized Noodle Loss, because the noodle and the loss of power. I call it the noodle loss. Noodle and loss of power. But look at this. Look at the... he could definitely lose some weight, man. Look at him. He's like a little French bulldog, a little Belgian bulldog. Just a powerhouse. Looks really good on the bike. Low frontal area. You look at his belly, breathing in and out. That's the diaphragm. So he knows how to breathe, knows how to suffer. He's got a chip in his shoulder, which is good if you want to be this level cyclist or runner. And just look at it. Just no carbs, not much definition, and just all quads and glute. All quads and glute, which is what you want as a cyclist. You want that. That's where the power's coming from. Your quads, hamstrings, and glutes. The rump, the dump trunk. The dump truck. That's what you want as a cyclist. Dump truck gains in the time trial, etc. Even guys like Chris Froome, they had mostly quad and hamstrings. Bradley Wiggins, mostly quad and hamstrings. That's the muscle that you want to have of any sort of hypertrophy in the look at that. Look at those white legs, like big chicken legs, just the power. And this guy put a minute into Kung, who was pushing out mad watts. Look at that. So look how sort of staunch he looks. His neck's pretty thick. He doesn't have that classic wafy cyclist look, which means, it only means he's not at his peak yet. All right, just means he's not at his peak. We get him to his peak for sure. Kung as well. He looks like a little Lance Armstrong, doesn't he? Is Evenepoel related to Lance Armstrong? Did Lance Armstrong visit a few podium ladies from Belgium or something? Like, what's going on there? He does have a bit of it wouldn't surprise me if Remco is one of Lance Armstrong's Belgium love childs. Maybe when Lance was doing Tour of Flanders or something back in the day. Who knows, man? Or podium girl. Is there any Belgian podium girls from the 2005 Tour de France that Lance was hanging around with? How old is Remco? Maybe 2010 Tour de France. How old is Remco? Is 17 or something? But, yeah, so, the Quick Step team. Wouldn't it be cool if Patrick Lefevre just said, let's get rid of all these crappy SL7s. Let's go back to what works, a rim brake, and he just got all these SL2 Quick Step tarmacs out of the service course there in Ghent or Ninova or Ulst, wherever it is these days, and he just said, we're going to race on bikes in 2008, and they're actually going to be better than the 2022 stock. Imagine that. How cool would that be? How cool would that be if Patrick just said, stuff it, we're going to ride on proper race bikes. We're not going to ride our cyclocross bikes on the road, We're going to use our SL7 for maybe cyclocross racing. Even then, you use the Crux because it's going to be stiffer. Imagine if Patrick did that. Imagine if Patrick did that. There you go. If you're going to buy a disc brake road bike, please get a specialised Crux or get a Pragma gravel breaker. Same thing. It's going to be a lot stiffer and you get a better tyre clearance if you want to take it off road. Just saying. Remco Evenepoel definitely could win the Tour de France. 100%.